Welcome, I'm Jade the Willow, and we're starting a giant new project in this big and so far empty world of Arlansei. I've created this world using worldpainter, and now I'm going to use a combination of world edit and block by block placing to fill it out. It's about 10 million blocks, a little over 3,000 by 3,000. We're going for colorful, fantastical, and larger than life. It's going to be beautiful, hopefully, and funky. I'm super excited about this, and I've got a lot of great ideas and a lot of lore and world building to do. There's going to be merpeople cities and floating islands, dramatic cliffs, sea monsters, ships, all sorts of fantasy fun. So stick with me and let's get started. Today we're tackling this area. What is this, Jay, you ask while squinting skeptically? Well, yes, it's not much yet, but we're going to build it up both above and below the water. Above, we're going to have colorful table coral-esque tree things of sorts stretching towards the sky and creating platforms. Below water, we're going to have these large rock pillars with different coral and sea life. I chose ancient debris for my main stock base. I know, building in creative is ridiculous. And I used dripstone for some texture and highlights. I wanted to create a sort of layered look like palm trees have, if you understand what I'm trying to say. And I thought the ancient debris block had enough of that texture and still looked like it could be some sort of natural yet alien-ish block without having to use a Minecraft wood block. I wanted to change it up, do something kind of crazy. The stem still looks a little world edity, but that's okay. Adding spines and stretching out from the base helped smooth things out a lot, and I did do a little work on the stems by hand. One thing I focused on in this build was basing my fantasy elements in reality so that the viewer has some context for what they're looking at. Like these, I still don't have an official name for them, but I've been calling them table coral trees. They're not necessarily trees, but because they hold the same pattern and general shape as trees, the viewer will look at them and assume they're a sort of plant rather than rock or animal. The only thing left above water is to fix what I'm calling the middle space. There's just so much emptiness here between the water and the leaves, and it looks off. I don't want to add in vines, so instead I'm putting in these little leaf pieces. Oh, also I changed colors in the cyan leaves, so it's light blue terracotta instead of concrete. It helps the cyan and light blue bases stand apart from each other more, and I really feel like the light blue terracotta accent stripes, which almost looks pink, add in a lot more depth to the build as a whole. Alright, the top is finished, now we head under the water. Well, under the light blue glass anyway. You can see that these pillars are extremely vertical, and I don't just mean because they're tall and narrow, I mean everything about them looks unnaturally pointy. Now, I do want extreme rock formations, but I'd like them to have a little bit of a diagonal or horizontal aspect to them to show water moving back and forth across them over time. I've just been adding in little bits here and there on each pillar, as you can see, and I think it's helping a lot. When I build, I like to have a story to help guide me, and sometimes I ask questions about what I'm doing. For example, what is this weird rock pillar area? Are there any inhabitants? I decided this area was going to be home to plant life that has medicinal properties that are either not found anywhere else or are extremely rare. That either is code for I haven't fully finished planning out the whole world yet, and I don't know what I'll be reusing or mimicking in other places. Anyway, because of this area's limited visibility and deep waters, it's also home to some unsavory fishies that pose a threat to those brave enough to venture in for supplies. I played around with different colors and shapes to add in underwater. At first I thought I'd use the blue colors from above water to tie in the areas together, but quickly decided that didn't offer enough variety. So after I scrapped that idea, I decided to go a little bit more bold and crazy. I feel like I walked the line a little with my copper and glowstone mushroom things. I cringe a little bit every time I look at them, but that's okay. Since this is the first build in the project, I also had to get a feel for scale. The flowers were when I started to feel like I was approaching the original goal. They're bright and fun and much closer to being oversized than anything else was so far. I created a few different color and size varieties, 7 in total, so that there was a little bit of variation. The purple coral I did at first seemed fine, but after continuing to build, I thought, this is not colorful, fantastical, or oversized. What were you thinking? I was not, apparently. So I came back and added in a few more larger pieces just to round it out. Because many of these things I'm building are going to be under the water, I felt like I had a little extra wiggle room for copy and pasting because the visibility is much more limited. Next we have my funky eels. So I did look up some reference pictures, but I will be honest, eels terrify me. I just really have a hard time looking at them. They are so unsettling. So I took a couple quick glances and then just did my best. I know I just said fantastical and oversized, and these eels are pretty dark and small, but I wanted them to be lurking and blending in with the shadows and small enough that they can suddenly appear around a rock pillar, causing immediate danger to the merpeople or whoever else is swimming around. I cannot tell you how much I struggled with the shells. I'd look at a reference picture and I'd go, yeah, I can do that. And then I'd look at my computer screen and my brain would just go blank. They're a little strange, but I do feel I accomplished my oversized goal. I figured most people could guess that they're looking at a shell based on context clues, so I mean, that's all we can ask, right? But also, look at that, it's so weird. I stuck with a more natural shell color palette to try to emphasize that they were indeed shells and not just random lumps of blocks, so we'll see if I can get better at making shells and make them brighter later. Then to kind of wrap everything up, I added in a little bit of kelp using a couple different green colors that don't really come across well under the water, so we'll see what we can do in the future. Then I added in the water and a lot of seagrass, and with that, we're done. I love my end product, though it's a little dark and difficult to see. I think sea pickles will be necessary in the future, and I'll definitely be designing plant life to include lights, as I did with the mushrooms and the flowers. I had a lot of ideas come to me while I was working on this, or at least a lot of next time I should remember to do this, so I'm super excited to keep building. I definitely want to add in more fish and giant sea monsters or jellyfish or whatever, but I thought I'd do more of that in the open water, so we just have the little eels for now. I feel many of the other elements in this build are smaller and duller than my original vision, so stick with me because it will get crazier. I just needed some practice and time to figure it out. I toyed around with adding in a few details that looked like someone maybe dropped something or there were bits of a shipwreck, but I decided against it for this area for a couple different reasons. I'm definitely feeling the challenge of 1 meter blocks versus intricate details. So as I continue building in this world, we will have to see what I can come up with and what other little details I can add in, but for now, we have some other fun things. I loved working on this so much. It was a ton of fun. I'm pretty happy with it. Excited to see what's next. So thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, leave a like and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!